Hey there, my name's Erin and this is So Pumped Fitness. Today we are doing a mat-based lower body stretch session that is perfect after a workout, but you can also do it any time of the day. Contrary to the old fitness myth, your muscles don't have to be warm from exercise in order to do long, gentle stretches, which is what we're doing today. Let's start out on our backs. We're going to go to a supine figure 4 stretch. We're lying down on our backs, relaxing our heads down. Let's take our right ankle across our left knee and then pull that left knee toward our chest. So the target area for this stretch here is our right IT band and our right glute area, which is also known as our butt cheek. Feel this stretch here, but we're actually not going to hold it very long. Let's go ahead and switch it out, taking that left ankle across the right knee and now pulling that right knee in toward our chest. So now we're feeling that stretch along the left IT band and left glute area. This supine figure 4 is an alternate for the stretch that we're going to do next, which is our pigeon pose. So try it out with me. We're rolling over into a plank position, and then we're going to sweep that right knee forward so that our toes are pointed back and our shin is at about a 45-degree angle. Now we're dropping that left knee down and pushing our left toes away. So we should feel a very similar stretch here that we did to that last stretch, a stretch through our IT band and our right glute. But the reason I showed you that supine figure 4 is that if you feel any discomfort here in that right knee, then I want you to just go ahead and roll over onto your back and go back to that supine figure 4. So that's our alternate here for this pigeon stretch. But if the pigeon stretch is feeling okay for you, then we can stay just like this. We've got a few options here. So I've got my hands straight and we can stay just like this, supporting ourselves up. Before we go to the next stretch, I want you to notice how my hips are parallel to the floor. In other words, I'm not leaning over to one side. That's how I need you as well, and that's how we're going to stay, even if we decide that we maybe want to put our forearms on the floor. So if we can, if that gives us a better stretch, we're welcome to put our forearms on the floor. For some people, it's comfortable to go all the way down to the forehead. If that's comfortable for you, feel free to do that. We're gonna be here in our pigeon stretch for another 20 seconds. Good, and let's go ahead and come up out of that. We're gonna switch sides. So if you are in your supine figure 4, you're gonna switch sides there. But if we stayed in that pigeon stretch, again, we're going to switch sides. We'll be on this side for an entire minute and 15 seconds. So now that left knee is forward, the shin is down at a 45-degree angle. We're pushing our right toes away. And again, we have that option of staying straight up, supported on our hands, or if we'd like, we can come down to our forearms, maybe even resting our forehead down. But there's no right or wrong here. It's just however you feel the best stretch. So don't feel bad about yourself if you're here supporting yourself up and your body is high. As long as you are getting that stretch through the IT band and through your glute area, you're doing this correctly. And we're gonna stay here for another 30 seconds. Now, I mentioned at the top of the video that we don't need to be warmed up from exercise in order to do these long, gentle stretches, and that's because we're not forcing anything. We're just letting our bodies relax into the stretch in whatever way feels best for us. So let's tuck our toes and lift ourselves up out of that pigeon or sit up from that supine figure 4, depending on where we were. Let's come all the way to a seated position for a seated straddle. So now we're taking our legs out in front of us, toes are up toward the ceiling. Again, this is gonna look different for everyone. So if you can get your legs wide like this, awesome. If your legs are more like here, no problem. And there's always an option to bend the knees a little bit. The target area for this stretch is the inner thighs and the hamstrings, the muscles along the backs of our legs. We don't want to feel pain in the knees. So if you're feeling searing pain in the knees, we want to go ahead and give a little bend to the knees here. But once we get ourselves situated here in this seated straddle, we want to either prop our hands behind us so that we can lean forward, or maybe we can take our hands in front of us and relax down into this seated straddle. We're going to stay here for an entire 2 minutes, although we only have 1 minute and 20 seconds left. So we don't want to go straight to 100% stretch. We want to just let our bodies ease into this stretch. And then as our bodies relax and as our muscles open up to the stretch, we'll be able to sink a little bit deeper naturally. So we have another minute left here. Let's just take this last minute to focus in on our breath and listen to the soothing music and relax into the stretch. And then we're easing ourselves up out of that seated straddle. And next we're coming to what we call a saddle stretch. This is going to be a stretch for our quads. So we're going to come all the way to our knees. Now first, I'm going to show you what this pose is like, and then I'll tell you how to get into it. So just watch me first. So saddle is where we're here, and some people are going to be able to just lie down on the floor, no big deal. I'm not one of those people. Let's talk about how to get into this stretch. So the toes are away, the knees are about hip to shoulder width apart. Our toes are ankled in toward each other. So some of us right away might have an issue with an ankle flexibility issue here. And if that is you, grab a pillow or something to put underneath your ankles so they're supported. If we've got that, then the next option here is that we might stay up tall, or we might start to ease ourselves back, okay? Again, the target area is through our quads here, the tops of our legs, so we should hopefully be feeling a stretch there. But we're also getting some good healthy compression through our knees. We don't want to feel pain in our knees, but it should feel nice to have this sort of closed angle on the joint. Now, if it doesn't, then skip this saddle stretch, but this should feel really nice here. So I have to keep myself supported on my arms. You might be able to relax down a little bit more. We're gonna stay here in our saddle stretch for another 50 seconds. Feel free to relax down. You might still, as you go on, be able to walk the hands back a little bit more and a little bit more. But we're breathing here. We're not tensing. We're letting our bodies sink into the pose. Let's hang out here in our saddle stretch for another 30 seconds. Good, so we'll ease ourselves up out of this saddle gently, especially if you were lying down. You want to be nice and slow and easy on yourself as you come up out of that saddle. And then we're going to transition all the way to a seated position. We're going to do a seated cross shin pose. So we're sitting in our cross-legged position just like we did on the floor in kindergarten. It doesn't matter which leg is in front of the other because we are going to switch halfway through. But from here, we're just going to lean forward. So immediately I feel a nice stretch here through my lower back. People are gonna feel this in different places. You might feel the stretch here through the lower back, and we might feel it again through our glutes and our IT bands here. There's no right or wrong place to feel this stretch, but where we don't want to feel it is again in our knees. So if there's any pain in the knees here, sit on up, reset, try to find a way to sink into this cross-legged position without any pain in the knee joint. Once we get ourselves situated, again, we're relaxing forward, relaxing our head and neck down, and taking deep breaths. And we're gonna be here for another 30 seconds. So now we're pressing ourselves back up, and we are going to switch the leg that's on top. This always felt so awkward to me. I remember being a little kid and just for fun switching up the leg that was on top in cross-legged, and it was like trying to write with my non-dominant hand. It just feels so bizarre. But that's what we're doing right now, going back into that position again, walking the hands forward, relaxing our upper bodies down. We should still feel that stretch, maybe through the lower back, through the glute and IT area here. We'll be here for another 45 seconds. Now we're pressing ourselves back up to our seated position. Our last pose for this stretch session is going to be our downward facing dog. So we're rotating up onto all fours, and then we're taking our legs long behind us, tucking our toes and lifting up to an upside down V. So our palms are flat. We're pushing our palms into the floor. We're lifting our hips through the ceiling, and then we're pressing our heels down toward the floor. So it may look like my heels are touching the floor, but they're actually not. They're hovering just a few centimeters above the floor. Your heels might touch the floor, they might not. There's not a right or wrong as long as we're feeling that stretch through the backs of our legs. And we're doing that by pressing our heels down into the floor and then by pressing our chests toward our toes. We're letting our head and neck relax here. And then we're going to add in an extra stretch for our calves. So I want you to bend the right knee and really emphasize pushing that left heel down toward the floor. We should feel that stretch even deeper through the left calf. Let's hang out here for a few seconds. And then switching it out. So now we're bending that left knee, pressing our right heel even closer to the floor, feeling that intense stretch through the back of our right leg and hopefully especially in that right calf. Let's hang out here for 20 seconds. And from here, we're easing our knees back down to the mat, and that completes our lower body mat stretch session for today. Thank you so much for joining me. Remember, this is a stretch that you can do at any time during the day. It's especially nice after a leg heavy workout or a run. It's also nice to do right before bed. We all know someone who could stand to stretch a little bit more, so why don't you go ahead and send this video their way. And while you're at it, make sure that you're subscribed to my channel. Give me a little thumbs up. It makes me really happy. I'll see you next time.